What is up, everyone, and welcome back to the Fantasy Football Universe. I am Aaron St Denis. Follow me everywhere at FF Mad Scientist. Joined today by, of course, I pointed the wrong way. Why do I
that
never
way.
50-50 and I never guess the right way? Joined by Jesse Moeller at jmoeller05. We are here for one of our many unique FFU redraft leagues. This one is the Guillotine League. What the hell? Is that your background?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, ignore that. We are going to get into this. Before we start the draft momentarily here, I'll quickly explain how this works. There are 18 teams. We draft like a normal league. It's kind of a boring settings. 1 QB, so it's not super flex, obviously. 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, tight end, kicker, DST, and 2 flex. So that's 10 starters. This league has 5 bench, 5 IR spots. That's a new one. We haven't done that before. So it'll be a bit deeper because, like I said, it's 18 teams. What we do here, this is kind of the anti-Scott Fishbowl draft. Last 2 weeks, all we've been doing is drafting for fucking upside. We are not doing that here. This is 18 teams. Your goal is not to win each week. Your win-loss record means nothing. Your goal is to not finish last each week. Each week, the lowest scoring team will be eliminated until there is 1 team remaining. So your goal is to win week 18. Other than that, your goal is to not lose. So my strategy, I don't know about you, is a little different. I'm avoiding the high variance guys. I'm avoiding inflicting bye weeks, injured players, teammates. I don't want to stack here. I want to spread this all out. I am not going for those guys who are like, a lot of my teams, they'll score 280 1 week and 90 the next week. I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for, 150 each week, just not finishing last. I don't care if I'm middle of the pack all year. That's fine. I don't know about you. I am also looking to spend my fab early in the season because I guess we'll get into that before we, talk more strategy.
That's more strategy.
Kick things off here, and then I guess you can talk some strategy if you want. Well, how are you approaching the draft here?
I think Paul Charchin's covered Guillotine League for a long time, and he's like one of the OGs of that format. And he's really laid out the case of like why early bye weeks. So the teams that have week 5 bye weeks are teams you don't really want to draft early. I get it. Some of these teams like the Chargers, the Eagles, the Lions, and that nature, but like you have to take that into account, right? Because you want to survive those early weeks. And this is what we talk about with like the upside. We don't want these guys that are super high variance like we talked about, because if they all crash in that week, you're out. You're basically just trying to be like NC State in the 1983 NCAA tournament. You're trying to survive in advance. That's what our goal is early. And you slowly accumulate more assets. You get the cheaper guys on waivers. They're so good. And then you go at the end. There's a bunch of different strategies. But, you just want to survive. And then you'll slowly – the teams will get better and better each week. So you just stay with everybody. You just got to be better than the 17 teams, the 16 teams each week and go from there. So, it's a different strategy, but since we're fast drafting, this one's going to be kind of chaotic because it's going to be all over the place. I will say the non-third round reversal is going to make it really difficult on the teams in like the 18 slot, because it is going to be tough when you get to like the third round. You're like, who am I picking? So it's going to be interesting to see the format for those guys.
Well, and like you said, the key here is early. Each team that gets eliminated, their players go back on waivers. So you're going to have, week 1 or after week 1, you're going to have studs hitting the waiver wire. And I like to use my money early. I always say, and I forget who the guy was. I don't remember if it was last year or the year before, but I've done this 2 or 3 years in a row. And I should say I've got a couple coworkers in here. The guy drafting right before me out of the 2 spot, Jason Anto. I think he's either won the league or finished top 3 a couple years in a row. So he's done well with this, but I'm sure he could confirm. One of the years we had a guy held his fab money probably to week 12, just held it. Week 12, he got Justin Jefferson, Derrick Henry, and some other stud, and was like, you guys are fucked. You're all done now. I'll never lose again. Well, that week, Henry went out with an injury. Jefferson dropped a bomb. He was out, and every single one of those players was on waivers the next week. So it just goes to show you, like, I like to spend my money because you'll have that guy, you get to week 17, whatever. You'll have that guy who's held all his money and he wants to save it. And it's like, screw it. He's going to spend all his money on CMC and Travis Kelce. Well, that's great. He can only draft so many players. So I'll just wait. And, if Derrick Henry has a good matchup that week and Mark Andrews has it, I'll spend my $1 or nothing $0 bid and I'll just take what's left. So at the end, it's not. This is more so than ever where I play the match. An auto pick already. It was probably the right guy, but I find I want safe floor players too. Like I don't want variance guys. This is my anti Tyler Lockett league here.
Yeah, the Christian Watsons of the world are not super appealing in this league. Like the upside's there, but the downside could kill you because like you said, you have multiple guys putting up zeros, your team's cooked. Like there's no way around that. And you do need a little bit of luck with these type of leagues just because sometimes, you could have a great team like you talked about and they just all shit the bed. So that just kind of is what it is with this league. So you got to survive, do your best to advance, give yourself a matchup. I like when I can see definite upgrades on my lineups, then I will target those guys. So if say like Puka Nacua comes available in week 6 and I'm starting like a Tyler Lockett or one of those guys, like I'm going to make the bid for that. You know what I'm saying? To make my lineup that much better. But usually there's a guy that's lower, like a Deebo Samuel or something that's cheaper and he can give you a similar range of outcomes. So it's like, I kind of like going for the second or third tier guys because it doesn't cost you all the money in the world and you're getting a guy that's giving you 90% of that outcome. So I like doing that personally. But yeah, towards the end of the year, I'm like, fuck it, just throw money at it because you lose the money, you lose it.
It's such a weird draft, and we're going to have a hard time streaming this one because I don't know how the board – it's 18 across. You can only see 15, so at some point I'm going to have to zoom out, and it's going to suck. But, after weeks of everyone just draft upside, this is a considerably different strategy here for this league, so it's interesting. Like I said, it's not necessarily – you're going to have a head-to-head each week. It doesn't matter. I had one year where I lost in the finals. I think my record was something like 4-10. Didn't matter. Because, there's going to be guys who are 9-0 after 9 weeks or 9-1 because, they've placed no one. They've had the empty spot. There's not everyone's going to have a matchup because we're going to eliminate people every weekend. The goal, like I said, it's not win every week. Just don't finish last. It's kind of like poker. Just live to fight another day and then reassess every week. There's the other interesting thing, and people have mentioned it in the chat there in the league. They've had some people where they've done benches, but best ball. They've done it where you set a line or where they've done best ball with no benches. This one we did setting a lineup and I left benches. So I think it's a little bit more of a wrinkle here. The rosters are going to go deeper. So it's going to make the waiver wire a little slimmer. And like I said, I don't ever like playing in the best ball leagues. I hate that. I think it takes half the fun out where you have to make that's the risk, make the decision. So I think it adds a little, I've never done it this way where, and I like actually having in this format, it's tough enough. I like having the IR player. I get it. If you have a player who's on bye, you're forced to drop him for someone else. That's one level of strategy. I don't like that, I have CeeDee Lamb and I lose him week 1, leave him on the waiver or on my IR. One position I found to be a bit more valuable is QB. The baseline 100%. Of scoring for these high-end QBs can be, that's exactly it. It sets you, the top 12 give you a solid head start where you're playing from ahead. I mean, it's not as valuable, obviously, as if this was Superflex, which you can't do in an 18-team league, really, obviously. But
I mean, it's kind of like it because 18 teams. But yeah, to your point, 100%. Yeah. I think these 1Z positions, like you're talking about, quarterbacks and tight ends, I'd almost rather get the difference makers at those positions because running back is like deep-ish. Wide receiver is extremely deep. So I know I took Garrett Wilson. I took him over like running backs because I hate going running back early because if they get injured, you're cooked. Like your first pick, if it's like CMC, Bijan, those guys, they're great picks. But, man, I would much rather wait on running back with this strategy. I found it and just get guys I can plug and play because there will be guys each week that come available. So if I can get a difference maker at a position, I would much rather go quarterback, tight ends, kind of build my team around those wide receivers first and then go get running back afterwards. But like, I get it. You take a shot on Breece Hall, Gibbs, Taylor, Bijan. I prefer Jonathan Taylor to like a Gibbs in this format because like we talk about, he's going to get, he's going to get all the volume, right? Like, so I would much rather go the safety of a Jonathan Taylor than I would do a Jahmyr Gibbs, who's going to have some more variance in just how he's used this year.
And our esteemed co-host has timed out in the first round. So excuse us those of you watching, it's going to get a little tough to watch here, only because the presentation's really tough in an 18-man league. The sleeper, the app itself lets me recenter automatically, but I hate that the desktop doesn't let me do that. I'm not thrilled about that. It kind of is pissing me off here. So
yeah, if you go presentation mode, you can actually like on the bottom, you can scroll
But it still only left me centered, and it cut off the end, which is where we're at right now. So I don't necessarily love that.
Yeah, I don't. Because you can at least it gives you the bar at the bottom so you can move it while doing this. But yeah, it's just a pain in the butt because it's 18 teams, so it's harder to do it. Because Hitman goes Allen and Laporta, like we talked about. He goes the quarterback and the difference making tight end. I totally respect that. I get it in this format because value. Really, I don't really care about positional value. I just want the guys that are giving me the biggest edge. So I get going that strategy. It makes a ton of sense.
I'm gonna recap the first round here myself because some of you probably won't be able to see it. So 18 teams once again. So for the first 16 picks, we had nothing. 17 picks, we had nothing but running backs and receivers. It went CMC, Tyreek, Lamb, Jefferson, Bijan, St. Brown, Hall, Chase, AJB, Gibbs, Marvin Harrison Jr., Puka, Garrett Wilson, JT, Devontae Adams, Drake London. We had 2 auto picks in there, both receivers. Saquon Barkley, and then the guy on the turn, Hitman, he just decided to zig here when everyone else zagged. And like you said, he went QB1, tight end 1 with Josh Allen, Sam Laporta. I don't mind that. We're getting to the point where you're starting to have to reach. You don't have a true wide receiver 1. You don't have a true running back 1. So if you force running back wide receiver there, you're going to end up you're going to have the worst running back receiver combo. Then by the time it gets back to you, you're also going to have the worst running or tight end QB. So I don't mind that. I like, he's really going to be screwed for wide receiver running back, but he's got arguably 100%. The best quarterback tight end combo. So I don't mind zigging there when everyone else is zagging. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm debating Kelsey or Hurts here. The thing that sucks is they both have an early bye, and that's the only thing kind of pushing me away from those guys. But otherwise, it's Nico Collins, who I love, Chris Olave, those guys. I'm not really sold on any of these running backs in this range. There's some volume guys, but I get worried about a lot of these guys. So I'm actually gonna go take the tight end. I know that I can count on. That's Travis Kelce, and I'm just gonna lock it in. Because I don't want to play this game where I'm waiting forever at tight end or quarterback. Because if you miss out, then you're really if you're trying to stream the tight end 18 in this format, you're going up against Laporta, Kelce, you're getting absolutely destroyed by those guys. So I'm going to take the tight end right here and just lock it in. I know it's an early buy, and I just kind of have to live with that week 6 buy. So that's the one thing I was kind of going back and forth on what to do. So
that just means with it. You're likely to be targeting one of the first eliminated tight ends. But the interesting one here is we see Jeremy's getting auto picked. So he has 2 players here, both with week 12 bye. That doesn't matter so much because by the time week 12 is here, all he needs to do is jump on somebody else who doesn't have that bye week. This league, I don't normally have this in guillotine leagues, but I wanted to experiment. Trading is enabled. So you can trade with other players. It's kind of a unique spin on guillotine. So like I said, I'm more worried about getting to, what's the first set of bye weeks? 5 or 4?
5. It's week 5.
I don't want, see these teams where they have AJB right here, Gibbs. I don't want 2 players. I don't want my top 2 picks to both be week 5. Even me, I have week 7. My second pick, whatever position it is, I don't want another week 7 player here. I can tell you that because I will spend my money to buy players early, but it's going to be real tough at that point. So I find the bye week, avoidance, the confliction there is more important early in the season. Week 14, I don't love both your running backs being week 14, but that's so far down the road.
Yeah, your team's going to change by that point. 100%.
The other thing is here, any player that's even partially injured, I'm not targeting them right now at all.
Yeah, it's added risk you don't want to deal with, right? You're trying to avoid as much risk as possible. And while the reason why I went Kelce in this format over McBride or one of those guys is I know what I'm getting out of Kelce. I'm baking more projection into the McBride thing, and with Marvin Harrison Jr. there, I'll take the safety of a Kelce as opposed to what we talk about with McBride. He could do better, but I'm trying to avoid risk in this format, so that's why I'm shifting to that type of guy. I was surprised to actually see CJ Stroud go the pick after me, as opposed to some of those rushing quarterbacks that are available. I would much rather take a Lamar or one of those guys because Stroud is such a passing quarterback. I get it, the scoring format and all that fun stuff, but you need him to pass. He doesn't have multiple outs. If he doesn't get touchdowns or if he doesn't have passing yards, you're cooked that week. So I would much take the floor of a rushing quarterback than a Burrow in that range too. So there's still the quarterbacks available. Still Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Anthony Richardson. I take all of those guys over the passing quarterbacks because
I'm not a fan of what we just seen. He went out of his way to draft Burrow to stack him with Chase.
But like
Ugh,
that's
I don't love that.
I hate stacking also in this format because you could die on the needle that week. Also, it's week 12, like their bye is so far out. I don't
No,
mind that, but
he
just
went out
stacking
of
in
his
general.
way.
I'm not
Yeah.
stacking in this format. I think it's terrible because like you could absolutely your team could get cooked. If Burrow struggles, Chase is gonna struggle. It's gonna hit multiple positions. So like this is the one format I hate stacking. Like I do the opposite of stacking format. I don't want to do that because
Yeah.
it terrifies
That's my
me.
point. That's my point, though. I hate the stack. He reached massively. Hurts, Mahomes, Lamar, Richardson. There's easily 4 QBs on the board above Burrow. So you reached to do something you probably should. Like, I get it. If he's waiting 5 rounds and Burrow falls into his lap as the only available QB, damn the stack, just go for it. But he reached massively to take a QB to stack, and I don't love that at all. So we have a guy in here who I like his strategy at the end. The guy here in the middle, I don't love that. That's not a great.
Like Mark was saying why he took Stroud is because of the bye week, and I would have said I 100% get that you want the late buys, but I would have just gone with the other guys, the Lamar or the Anthony Richardson that have the late buys as well. It's just obviously he views Stroud as an upgrade over those guys, and that's fine. I know the floor is higher with rushing quarterbacks, so like I'm much more interested in floor, particularly from my high end picks. I want floor. I don't want guys with variance. And like as great as Stroud is, like because he's a passing quarterback, he can have more variance if he gets shut down in a week. I mean, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but still, like this is what I'm talking about. Like that stuff worries me. And like my team could stuck in week 1, I could be out because Garrett Wilson, Travis Kelce goes down, but I just know the floor with those guys is incredibly high. That's why I take those guys. So that's kind of what I'm looking at.
My second pick here was Lamar. I passed on Jalen Hurts. I don't necessarily I like Jackson. I don't know if I like him more. The difference was one is a week 14 bye. Hurts is a week 6, and I didn't want to eat my quarterback bye that early. So it was probably slightly Hurts ahead of Jackson for me. Yep. In this case, I decided Jackson because it was too close to call. So give me the later bye. I can adjust to it later. By then, there's plenty of quarterbacks by week 14. So that's why for me, I didn't wait on Hurts. Or I waited.
We're like we're kind of seeing more quarterbacks go as this because like we talk about the difference makers, it kind of dries up at like wide receiver and running back. So it's kind of shifting how people are drafting. They're taking tight ends, quarterbacks. Like I'm honestly fine pulling a trigger on a quarterback or tight end of the back half of round 1 in this format, getting those true peak at the positions because like we talk about, that's what it's all about. Getting difference makers with high floors. That's the key in this format. So I think it's easier to find those guys. Like you can go running back, you can find these volume guys who are perfect in this format. Like we can go down, we can find Mixon, we can find Alvin Kamara, we can find James Conner, these guys that we know are going to get volume. And that's really all you're chasing in this format in the beginning because you just want to survive in advance. And then as we move on, your teams get better, then you start getting the truly like building your team up and going that way. I find that to be the most successful strategy in my years playing Guillotine personally.
All right, so I'm going to recap here. I know the round's not done, but it's about to be. So second round, Sam Laporta. Oh, just a sec. Sorry, I'm writing timestamps down because this is going to be a lengthy video. Second round started with Sam Laporta, Kyron Williams, ETN, Mike Evans, Derrick Henry, Travis Kelce, CJ Stroud, Neighbors, Olave, Nico, Burrow, Achane, Mahomes, Ayuk, Debo, Lamar, Pittman, Cooper Kupp. So through 2 rounds, we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quarterbacks and 2 tight ends. I was surprised it's not more. I get that this is not super flex, but at some point, I want a difference maker, like you said, at each position. So I'm willing to draft a quarterback higher in this format just because I'd much rather have Lamar here than take wide receiver 25 off the board. Yep. For me right now, I'm up in round 3. I am looking probably at a tight end here. I need a running back. The highest running backs I don't particularly love. I'm just going to take whoever gets back to me because if I pass on tight end and there's a tight end run, which I expect, I'm going to get nothing. So my pick here would have normally been Mark Andrews. I don't want to stack. I'm going to look on the bye here. It is bye week for week 11 for Trey McBride. So my pick is going to be Trey McBride because it protects me from, like I said, I wanted Andrews, but I don't want to have to eat. I know it's week 14's a ways down there, but I don't want to lose essentially 2 of my best 3 players week 14 if I am alive that long. So
yeah, like if it's when we start getting that far, like I'm expecting my teams to change. So like I don't mind if you went for the stack in that format because it's like your team's likely going to change. You might not even have the same starting players at those positions, right? So I don't mind it, but yeah, just differentiating gives you just an extra out, so you don't have to worry about it if that does come up. Because if those guys hit, they'll be your starters throughout the season, right? So yeah, like I'm fine. Like we talk about just taking the other guy to do it late because it makes sense. And yeah, like this is what we want. We just want floor. So it's interesting seeing like I like what the 101 team did. They got Hurts to go with McCaffrey, and then they got Cup, who I don't really like. Cup terrifies me based on what was last year with all the injuries, and he's older. So like it's a little bit risky, but when he plays, the floor's high with him. It's just can you deal with the injury risk that is Cooper Cup because he's been injured the last couple seasons. Like he's missed multiple games this year and last year too. So that's part of another factor you got to do. So like I know we talk about injury prone guys or whatever. Like I don't want guys who have dealt with multiple injuries consecutive seasons in a row. Like I don't want Keenan Allen in this format. That dude terrifies the crap out of me just because he's older. I don't expect him to have the volume and he's dealing with injuries. I'm just not going to touch that type of guy in this format. So it's all about how you want to draft. But if you know the risk with everybody going in, I think you can kind of dictate how your team's going to be.
Well, like I was saying, I on my last pick there, I didn't avoid the stack here with Andrews necessarily because like it's week 14. But for me, it was a case of it was two players in a similar range for me. And I just used that as a tiebreaker. I don't love Andrews or McBride more than the other. So like I said, I just said tie goes to the guy who's not on the same bye week, and I spread it out a little because I get it. Like you said, it's week 14. Shit's going to change by then, but I don't want to put myself behind the 8 ball to begin with where I'm praying something really happens. Because then, what if a tight end that, say I take Andrews there and all the good tight ends have been going early, and by the time we get there, to week 14, the 4 or 5 teams that are left are all the top 4 or 5 tight ends. And I'm just like, well, now I'm starting someone I don't want. I get it. There's situations that'll arise, but like, see here, we have Matt Mormon. He's going to be in it early here. He's got 2 players with week 6 buys. That's not rough. I like the players, but that's a tough situation. We've even got here the auto team. He has, that's 6 and 9. I thought it was both 9, but
he's also got Moore's got St. Brown week 5 bye, so he's going to deal with buys early in this format. To your point, that's not something I want to do. Like that just terrifies me because then you go out of your way, spin fab, and find guys. Unless you want a guy and like find, just streamable replacement level guys, you can usually pick guys up on the waivers. But yeah, like you could miss out and be looking at take it as 0 at a position early in the format, and that could kill you. So that's kind of where I'm just like, I don't want to do that.
One sec, guys. 1 sec. I'm trying to. 1 sec. We had someone, he said he froze or something like that. So I left the last 3 picks because I don't want to go back, but I removed Devonta Smith from him. Hopefully he doesn't draft another week 12 bye player because that would be a nightmare, but I guess we'll see. All right. No, he went. He's got a late round or late season.
Andrews.
Tight end. I don't mind that pick. I like it much better than his previous stacks. Yeah, I went Andrews.
All right. So this gets really interesting, and I'm probably going to go Richardson here because by the time quarterback comes around, I'm expecting like the Kylers and those guys to be gone. And I think I can get by with these running backs, like the volume plays and wide receivers. It's really deep still. So this is risky because Richardson deals with injury, but it's a late bye week. So this is one of the times I'm okay buying into that. You know what? We'll see how it goes. That's my guy this year. Just got to avoid injury. So we'll see how it goes. I know there's risk with it too. I'm like, ooh, should I do it? I'm like, yeah, let's just go for it.
All right, we are.
But yeah, we both have the same build through the first 3 rounds: wide receiver, quarterback, and tight end.
Kind of punted running back.
Yep. I mean, we do have to start 2 running backs, so it's kind of interesting, right? So I'm about to start hammering running back here soon, or at least get another wide receiver and see how it goes. I'm going to be pissed if like Tyler's on the board in round 4. Like,
I'm trying to look through the builds here to see if there's anyone who's really got themselves in some trouble. Like
the 3 wide receiver build from a couple guys is interesting because
one is an auto pick, obviously,
but you're the 2 starting wide receiver and you got your flex play sorted out. What you're doing in this is you're not taking a wide receiver for the next 6 rounds probably. So going into that and getting those difference-making wide receivers, I don't know. I just feel like I'm going to fall behind at the other positions so much. I don't know if they'll be able to catch up. So it's just kind of just where you want to take the loss, because with 18 teams, you're going to have some holes on your roster. So you have to kind of go in with a strategy of where you want those holes to be. I'm okay with like an RB2 that's just getting me volume that's dirt cheap, giving me 10 points per game. Like I can live with that type of guy on my roster if I have the difference makers in other positions. But yeah, like this is all about having a strategy and seeing it play through, because with 18 teams, it's going to be a lot of variance with how these teams draft.
Yeah, it's definitely, like I said, this is an interesting one. You don't really, the strategy is just completely off the board. It's not like anything. It's like counterintuitive to literally every league you've ever freaking done.
That's what I like about Guillotine Leagues. It shifts, it like flips how I normally draft. But I still found a way to take an upside guy. So like, I can't stay away from that much upside. But like, I definitely changed how I draft as a strategy. I'm like, all right, give me these high floor guys. Let's see. And then you got Walker. That's an interesting pick. All right. Yeah, Ken Walker there.
Okay, so to recap, round 3 was Jalen Hurts, DK, Trey McBride, Diggs, Pacheco, Waddle, DJ Moore, Andrews, Rashad White, Mixon, Kincaid, Jacobs, Richardson, Devonta Smith, James Cook, Flowers, Kyler, Tank Dell. So we have a rainbow build here on the end. Given the fact that he punted wide receiver and running back and stacked up early, I don't hate who we got.
No.
Tank Dell and Ken Walker both have some wide receiver 1 potential. I don't hate it. It worked out better than I would have expected punting it so late.
Yeah, I'm just worried about Walker's volume. That's my whole concern with Walker is he going to get the volume? Because like with Charbonnet there, like Charbonnet was cutting in his work second half of the year. So we'll see. And there's been hype around like kind of coming out of Seattle that like Charbonnet could be competing for the starting job there. So we'll see if that works out. But like, what you're kind of getting with Walker. He's going to be a efficiency running back who gives you some stuff. So like if I was drafting, like I would take other guys in that range at running back. And I'm looking at these running backs right now, man. Like I do not like any of these guys. So I'm probably just going to go wide receiver because like I'm trying to talk myself into these right. It's rough. Like I don't want Connor. I don't want Jones. Like Connor's the fine volume play. Like I could go that and survive it early, but I'd much rather just get the wide receiver and like go get Amari Cooper in around 10 and lock that in. I would feel much more comfortable going that route, getting the wide receiver 1 in the Browns offense. Like I'm going to go do that and see how it goes. Don't have any of the same bye weeks, so I can live with that.
Yeah. Depends who's left. There's a couple of running backs I'd be willing to take because I think the volume will be there. But when this gets to me, it's very likely I may also just lean into whatever's available. Wide receiver, obviously. I don't think I need I guess I could flex a tight end, but a second quarterback would be of no use. So it will either be, I'm trying to look. There are a few tight ends I think worthwhile here.
For sure.
Likely going to go wide receiver. But
yeah, I think it's the wide receiver is the best bet here. But if you didn't have a running back and you already had wide receivers, like I'd be fine taking like a Connor or Monty should be okay early. Monty worries me late, but it's the early buy, so I probably wouldn't take him. If you want to go the DeAndre Swift route, feel free. I think Stevenson's a better bet than him. Najee Harris, I know like a lot of our FFU guys are really big on Najee Harris. I'm a little more skeptical. But yeah, it starts to get really thin at running back too. So it's like, all right, when do you pull the trigger?
I took Jalen Warren in the fishbowl. Najee Harris went way too early in mine, and I had no interest in him. And I think he went at the end of the 4th round, and I'm like, no, I'll just take Jalen Warren in the 9th or 10th or whatever I got him.
Yeah, the way this draft, there's probably gonna be a lot of running backs that go since my next pick. I might take a wide receiver as my flex, and then just take a couple running backs after that because I'm looking at these running backs and the guys below those running backs. I don't see a ton of difference between them. So we'll see. Like I could be wrong, but I still like the wide receivers a lot more than the running backs personally.
Yeah, there's one or two. There's one wide receiver I really want regardless of who's left on the board. I don't know if he gets to me. Like I said, running backs are, it's getting a little slim. So we'll see. Still a couple of picks away.
Yeah, because like some teams need quarterbacks, some teams need tight ends still. So you see a couple of those guys probably go. Or they could just risk it and see where it goes. Since quarterback is deeper than tight end, right? So, you could see quarterbacks fall a few rounds.
Let's see. Draft's not exactly moving at 100 miles an hour here. I get it. It's kind of tough. There's some interesting strategy to employ. So,
well, yeah, like with the people available. Yeah, no, like I get it, Mark. Like I see the appeal of these running backs, but I don't see them like locked into volume like a lot of these guys like Jones. And I like James Conner. I just don't think he's going to see the volume level he's seen in past years because he has far better competition and who's in that backfield now. So
James Conner's the one I would have taken.
I think he's the safest of that bunch by far. And I was tempted to take him. I'm just a little worried if Trey Benson chips into more of that workload for him. He's also another guy who's dealt with injuries throughout his career. Like this is kind of like what we get out of James Conner. You know you're going to miss a couple weeks from him. So as long as he doesn't get those injuries early, I think you'll be fine with him. But yeah, like it's all about how you value the players you're taking, right? So if you think Connor's at volume back, then yeah, absolutely you go back to because like you can see Mark's strategy. He took Jacobs and Connor, the two traditional volume backs. Both guys this year, like they have a new competition, like things are changing for them. They've talked nonstop about in Green Bay about Marshawn Lloyd. Like you're trying to get him as involved as possible. So we'll see if Jacobs is that guy. If he is, then you have two volume guys that give you a really high floor, and that sets your team up really well. And then you could get those kind of, those flex level wide receivers who just give you the floor play, which is all you really need in this format. You just need guys that don't put up zeros.
3 of the 6 guys I was targeting after you picked have gone.
Yeah.
Connor was the one running back, and I wanted Higgins or Godwin. And they're both gone.
You might as well just reach for our favorite wide receiver. Because I don't know if he's coming back later. But he's still buried. So we'll see. Like you can find yourselves, like you can push wide receiver really down to Mark's point. Like you could end up with, like we go down, how far are we going to go down here? Like it's kind of cut off like the 110, but you can pull it off with, like a Hollywood Brown, Jaden Reed, those guys. Like those are fine. I had a feeling you were going to take him. Because I'm getting volume. I know what I'm getting out of it.
No comment. So we're not done yet. Just a sec.
Ooh.
Let's finish this last pick here.
So this is an interesting question. I'm personally not taking a guy that's going to get suspended in Rashee Rice because that guy's a 0 on my roster. So I'm not taking him until super far in the draft, until my entire starting lineup is set. And then I'm okay taking a shot on him because I do not want a guy that I have to be forced in a starting lineup. And if he's missing 8 weeks, you're not going to want this guy in your roster. So I'm personally just not going to draft him because his ADP is way too high and someone's going to take him. But if it's a guy dealing with suspension or injury, I don't want those guys because they kill your roster. They take up a roster spot and they're not going to give you 0 points. So I'm just not touching Rashee Rice in this format. He seems like the worst type of bet because he has the high ADP on top of it. So personally, I'm not taking him.
I think he's a decent value, but I think for me, it's a Kamara situation. I don't think he gets his suspension this year.
He might not
push, so that's why I don't mind it. But to recap the fourth here, Ken Walker, Pitts, Evan Ingram, Kamara, Pickens, Amari Cooper, Connor, Prescott, T. Higgins, Kittle, Aaron Jones, Godwin, Kirk, Jordan Love, Rashee Rice, Deontay Johnson, Ramondre Stevenson, and Keenan Allen. And we will start the 5th round here. But yeah, back to Rashee Rice. I don't want him at this cost, I don't think. Obviously, that's the auto pick. But I don't think he gets his suspension this year. There's not really much in here. Go to Drew Davenport. He's a good one to look for the legalities. But
I just don't want to risk it in this format. In other formats, I'm totally fine with it. In this format in particular, I don't want guys that have that potential suspend. If we're talking about Jordan Addison, a guy who could get suspended by his own team, not even by the NFL, I don't want to put those guys on my roster and have to deal with that experience because if they do get suspended, they're worthless on your roster. We do have IR spots, so I don't know if that works for suspension and how Sleeper does it. If you can put them on IR, sure. I don't think you can put suspended guys on IR. I think it's just injury. So, I just don't want to have those guys. I'll let other people deal with the variance that comes with those guys because that's an extreme level of variance. Particularly with Rashee Rice, it seems like it's more than Jordan Addison's. We'll see. I don't know. It's just more risk that I'm trying to avoid in this format. And I'm talking about risk as I drafted Anthony Richardson. So maybe I'm talking out both sides of my mouth right now. But with these guys, you kind of know if you draft them, what the kind of issues you're going to get into on your team.
And I am back on the clock, and it is ugly here. Ugh. I need a running back. Montgomery scares me. Early buy. Swift, I'm not a fan of. Najee? No, I'm not. I am going to take.
Rough right now.
I hate.
Yeah. I mean, you could flex a wide receiver and just live with that, and then
I don't like the wide receivers in this range anymore. I am going to take. I think reports of his demise are greatly overvalued here, overrated here, and I think he's going to still be the number one. I'm going to take Raheem Mostert.
Ooh, interesting pick.
That is my RB1. Well, he was, the RB3 last year?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, they get Jacksonville, Buffalo, Seattle early, so we'll see with those defenses. Like, they're definitely in transition. So they should be scoring a lot of points. So I think it'll give you some 4 week for sure. It just depends how much work he's going to get overall. But, okay, so this Barker team is so cooked. They got 5 wide receivers out of the gate, and they can't even flex all the wide receivers. So this is the problem with auto drafting.
Yes, indeed. So he can play 4 of them.
Yep. And then
the good news is the first 4 weeks. Well, he's still going to have 2 of them on bye in week 6.
Yeah, and then a week 7 bye. He's going to be in the doghouse. Going to have to dig his way out, much like Brandon Ayuk after that one season where he had to dig his way out. Yeah, so the Zamir White pick, I actually don't mind in this format. Like, I think the volume should be there to a point, so I don't mind going him in this format.
But so the interesting one here is going to be that I may start trying to punt wide receiver a bit under the assumption that come the first few weeks of the season, I'm going to be able to get one of 8 wide receivers pretty cheaply when this guy's out, because I can't see this Barker team lasting that long.
It'd be hilarious if his team just keeps surviving, though, and you're like, crap, I need a wide receiver.
Yeah. So I may push it here because he is driven. Well, there's a lot of, look at Jay. Jay has no quarterback. Jay has 2 week 6 buys, 2 week 14 buys. Jay just said, fuck it, I'm going wide receiver. I'll give Jay a little bit of leeway. Like I said, he's done this league with me 2 or 3 times, and he's either won it or finished final 4 or final 2 for a couple years of it. So I'll trust that maybe he has, I'll give him the Bill Belichick and trust that maybe he knows what the fuck he's doing. It's an interesting build. I'll give him that.
Yeah. I mean, Pittman's much more of a full wide receiver, and Metcalf kind of similar. They're going to get volume. So, I 100% understand the rationale behind what he's doing. Because, if you look at who's available, there's still plenty of quarterbacks you'd be fine with starting. And, tight end, similarly, it gets to a point, once we get past Ferguson, it kind of falls off. But you can talk yourself into starting those guys. So there goes Ferguson. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a tight end really worthy for him. But, he's just fine taking a loss of tight end, which is fine. If you can, if you hit a late round tight end and make it work, you're totally fine. Now, so this is my whole decision. I either have to take fucking Najee Harris here, who I really do not want to take, or I take one of these wide receivers who's a volume play, like a DeAndre Hopkins. I'm not going to do Brian Thomas. What I'm trying to avoid is rookies also early in the season. So I'm not going to take an upside on any of these rookies because usually with these rookies, particularly not these truly elite rookies, it takes them second half of the year. So I'm not going to take the upside shot on those guys. Like Jordan Addison, I don't want to do that. So theoretically, this pick for me is DeAndre Hopkins, which kind of feels kind of gross, or going to one of these running backs and if it's a Najee Harris. I think I could probably push wide receiver a little bit, and these running backs that are available later, I can do it, but I'm just going to get a guy I know is going to get volume. What's their schedule early? Who they got? They got Atlanta, Denver. It's fine. I'm really about to talk myself into Najee, and I do not like that at all. That felt gross. Oh, yeah, okay. Najee it is. Woo, boy. This should be interesting.
That felt dirty. Well, you go take a shower now?
It hurt my soul. It literally hurt my soul there. I was like, oh, Guillotine League, I hate you so much.
Yeah, but 5th round of an 18-team league doesn't feel nearly as bad. It's
bad,
more like a 7th rounder, but
I just hate the floor plays are just rough. It's so against how I draft, strategy in general.
I've got Raheem Mostert as my RB1, so don't talk to me about
club.
growth.
We got split backfield RB1s. Let's go. Woo-hoo! Yeah.
You're going to double down here and take Jaylen Warren?
That would be fun. I don't mind going for the same backfield. Problem is he goes too early. So it's I'm passing up a decent wide receiver. But if he falls, I don't mind it. We'll see. There's a Zach Moss who's he's gonna be a volume play. There's these guys you talked about with Jaylen Warren. You go at running back. Hell, you can do Devin Singletary. He's gonna be a volume play.
I have a sneaking suspicion that Jeremy might get eliminated in week 12.
We're fighting. Me and Mark. We're new.
I didn't see what he said. Sorry, I'm on the
He said,
board.
I like your team, but I'm putting in my week 1 waiver bid for Garrett Wilson. Just cold-blooded. Just shots fired out of the gate.
Well, I think Jeremy's out week 12. His entire team's on bye week 12.
Oh, no. Well, I mean, wait, he took Jason there? Interesting. Considering the other wide receivers available, I'm kind of surprised. But he got his strategy, so we'll see. It's actually, there's not a lot of good wide receivers available, so I stand corrected on that.
There's not a lot of good players available.
No, this is my whole dilemma on. I probably should have taken a wide receiver because I could have got a running back. They come back, that would have been comfortable, and that was stupid of me. But you know what? You live and learn. Such is life.
Yeah. 1 sec. Sorry. I try to when we get to the end of the round here. I'm trying to timestamp these so I don't have to rewatch the whole video. But to recap, round 5. God, this is taking forever with 18 teams. Calvin Ridley, Xavier Worthy, Raheem Mostert, Roma Dunze, Hollywood Brown, Zamir White, Jaden Reed, Terry McLaurin, DeAndre Swift, Jake Ferguson, Lad McConkey, David Montgomery, Najee Harris, David Njoku, DeAndre Hopkins, JSN, BTJ, and Brock Bowers ends the 5th round. It's a lot tougher to recap the round verbally when you have to name off fucking 24 picks here.
Right.
This is a marathon here. I'm not gonna lie. I really wish I now see why a lot of these 18-team leagues don't put bench spots in because we may get to the end here and just eliminate this down to 3 bench spots instead of 5 because
it's too many. You might have to because it's too many. So this is an interesting pick for me. Usually I would go for Jonathan Brooks, but I'm not touching Jonathan Brooks in this format because if he's not right early in the season and I'm playing that guy, it's gonna be trouble. So I'm trying to minimize that risk. So what I'm doing here is I'm either debating take Singletary, Brian Robinson, or taking the wide receiver I like. The problem is, man, these wide receivers are freaking rough. I have to go down a ways. It's we're going to take a running back. I'm not forcing those guys. So I'm actually going to take Brian Robinson here. Going to get the volume guy in Washington. And
I just shortened it to 3 bench spots instead of 5. I don't normally change settings in the middle of the league, a draft, but this is a free league and we're just having fun. So fuck it.
Yeah,
I don't think really anyone cares. By the time we get down there, it's going to be the 22nd round of Scott Fish Bowl. It's who even gives a shit? So,
yeah. And what RD 800 did is they took Jaden Daniels late, so they were able to kind of orchestrate their roster with really good players early and then go tight end quarterback because our league didn't necessarily force those quarterbacks and tight ends early enough. So yeah, it's a viable strategy if you make it work.
Jesus, it is ugly all the way around. It's not too bad at quarterback, which is the only team or the only thing I don't need. So that's good. Oh, Barker FF said he had his notifications off. Well, it's all right, Barker. You've missed your team drafting 8 wide receivers, so I'm sure that'll work out well.
The wide receiver king. That's what you need to rename your team.
Yeah. Yes, you are. Yeah, that's the sad part now. The only values left are the QBs, and you can only play 1. So it's well, fuck. I don't want this.
I mean, some of these running back, if you believe Tony Pollard, who should be the guy that's getting more volume in that offense, that's fine. You can talk Devin Singletary, who I almost picked in my pick, but that Giants offense scares me, so that's why I went with the Washington offense. There's more upside in that offense, but yeah, you can find these passable running backs, which is kind of where we're at in this range. It's guy you get to the Dallas backfield, take your shot there. Jerome Ford, if you think Nick Chubb's not going to be right, there's guys, but yeah, to your point, it's that motley kind of range of wide receiver where it's just it's rough. Who gets volume out of this group at wide receiver? Cortland Sutton is probably the best bet, but man, it just doesn't feel great taking Cortland Sutton, right? Having him as wide receiver too. So that's kind of the whole thing.
This is ugly. I was looking at it, I thought someone was going to complain about me shortening it in mid, and then I get this. I was like, no, he's complete. Oh, and then I read it. Get Ryan Florida. Everyone's a comedian, man.
Ryan Forney, yeah. You want that wide receiver 18 for the Cowboys.
I think I'm about to make back-to-back batshit crazy picks, so we'll see here. I think I'm just going to start winging it.
I mean, we're getting to that point in the draft where these guys are kind of just guys you're not going to have long-term on your roster unless they massively exceed expectations. So it's going to be guys you roll through for a few weeks And then if you survive what you hope to do, you kind of replace them as the season goes along. So like I don't mind taking shots in this range because
now that Barker is online, I kind of hope he just takes another wide receiver and says fuck it. But you got to assume he's going to draft something else. But we'll see.
That'd be hilarious. Just bring all the wide receivers. Yeah, because like I would normally take a Tajay Spears or I would take Jonathan Brooks the round before, but like in this format, I'm shifting how I'm drafting. So I'm taking guys that I'm getting volume that I know Vital probably their offense. So it's like that's why I went Najee, that's why I went Brian Robinson, because I know the volume is going to be there. I don't care if it's ugly volume. If it's volume, I'll survive. That's what I'm looking for running backs. That's all I care about. This like I don't care about efficiency. Like just give me the volume, guys. So I think another interesting guy is Javonte. Whoever wants to go that route with Javonte, like I don't think he's going to get cut from Denver because I think that's foolish. But another guy that should be the lead back in an offense, right? Like it's ugly, but you'll get guys that give you, points, and that's totally fine. The Moose. Who's the other guy you're taking here?
On sack.
Yeah, like I don't mind Ford at all. I think he's a fine bet.
Oh, really? See, I thought that was part of the batshit crazy. I thought everyone was going to reach, but I don't think Chubb is going to be ready. So I just that's who I'm taking.
Yep. Like this is the kind of like we've talked like with different guillotine leagues. You realize the upside bets they can pay off, but it takes them a while. Like you get to these rookies in this range or these second year guys that are not shown out yet. Like you need them to take a step forward. Like the whole reason I'm avoiding Brooks is if he's not right and he's not healthy, like that's going to kill my roster. So I'm just like, I want him to right and I want him to be healthy, but man, he could just be struggling early on throughout the season. Yeah. And yeah, like Elliott there, I get it. That's fine. You're going to have to replace him at some point, but
yeah, I'm going to recap 6 before I make my pick here. Jordan Addison, Christian Watson, fuck it, I'll make my pick. I'm going to do something crazy here, so you're welcome. All right, Jordan Addison, Christian Watson, Jalen Warren, Zach Moss, Jaden Daniels, Brian Robinson, Dallas Goedert, Jonathan Brooks, Brock Purdy, Romeo Doubs, Devin Singletary, Tajay Spears, Tony Pollard, Keon Coleman, Javonte Williams, Jerome Ford, Austin Eckler, and Pat Freiermuth was how we concluded the 6th round. Me with the 3rd pick of the 7th round. I have now drafted the first kicker off the board with Brandon Aubrey of the Dallas Cowboys.
I know, I'm a lunatic. No, you love Aubrey this year, and all the reasons why I should be there. I think Ford, he makes a good point on Ford. If he gives you a couple good games where he gives you double-digit points, like all you're asking for is 10 points in PPR league. That's all we're asking for from these running backs. If they give you 10 points, that's all you need to survive, man. You just need guys to just hit the floor. So, like, because there's going to be teams the first week that are scoring 50 points. Like, that's how it's good. There's going to be a team that just then does that. So as long as you slowly just get those points in your roster, you should be fine.
Yeah, well, with 18 teams, so you get any training camp injuries, there might be someone who's playing strictly waiver wire players week 1. It could get ugly
for sure. Somebody's going to suffer an injury. It's going to happen. So this is the downfall, particularly in this league. Like, it's not enough depth to go around, so someone's going to get hurt big time. And it might be a team that we like, and then somebody gets injured, and like, oh god, my team sucks. It's like that's how a guillotine league goes, man. It's just there's very much luck involved in guillotine leagues. Like you need to be lucky. Which just makes it more interesting to me.
I told you this is a chaotic draft, and it's going to be the opposite of what we've been doing the last 2 weeks with Scott Fishbowl. While we're talking about it, it looks like all week here we're going to be doing Scott Fishbowl week. We're going to be doing the 9 million rosters we've had submitted to us for roster review. Looks like we've had so many, we're going to be doing it all freaking week long at noon. So if you submitted one to us, check in at some point this week. As we review them, I'm going to be live tweeting out the timestamp of when your roster was reviewed, so you know what day and what time your roster was looked at. We're going to grade them all. Some of these Scott Fishbowl rosters are really pretty, and some of them are fucking ugly. Some of them you just look and you're like, that guy understood the assignment, and then you're like, that guy didn't read the scoring settings right there. So it's always fun.
Yeah, well, particularly some of those drafts and how they shape how you draft individually. Like you can tell different leagues and what their strategy going in. And some people end up with players well off of ADP, and you're like, what happened there? Like, yeah, it was a massive run. It's like, all right, yeah, I get it. That's what makes the Scott Fishbowl unique, is because there's so many individual 12-team leagues, right? So you'll see players with massively different ADP. Like we saw JJ McCarthy going 3rd in the league because I don't know why. Somebody really likes JJ McCarthy, I guess, like more than you.
Someone took Pitts 103 in one of the leagues.
That's Smokey. Smokey loves Pitts. That's like his child. He literally loves Kyle Pitts like his child. He's like, I'm the only one that will do that. I'm like, yeah, he's done it like 4 years in a row. Like it's been his thing. Yeah,
and it is crazy. Sorry, I am on the board in another league here because naturally all week this league has been slow and I haven't had made a pick in ages. But sure, I'm on a live stream here, so it's time to make a pick. I'm basically just filling out my bench with best player available at this point. I don't love any of these guys. Side league here: Romeo Dobbs, Xavier Legette, Gabe Davis, Troy Franklin.
Ooh. I mean, Dobbs is going to be on. The one thing that is frustrating about Dobbs, he's not the best player in the world, but he's going to be playing X for them. He's like the sacrificial X for the.
Yeah, that's it. If Dobbs
Great
was
time out. Oh, I got Chubb. Good luck,
Dobbs
Greg.
is who I
wish you well.
Oh, did he froze earlier, didn't he?
Yeah, he might have. He's on auto now, which I don't blame him. Like these guys in this range, no one's super excited about taking this player, even though you can get a Caleb Williams at quarterback. So if you punted at quarterback, like you still have a chance to a very good quarterback.
Yeah, having seen how this has played out, I think if I could do it all over again, I would have punted at quarterback. It didn't necessarily pay off for the guys who punted tight end because tight end fell off a lot quicker. There was maybe only 6 or 8 of them I wanted. QB, there's probably still 3 left on the board I feel comfortable starting. So
yeah, like you can give me Herbert or Lawrence, I'd be thrilled with that.
If we did this draft over again, I think I would have waited and I would have taken a quarterback somewhere down here. Like Jaden Daniels at 605 is really good value. I like that.
100%.
Purdy's not bad. Jared Goff.
Yeah, like Goff's up to smash. They got like 9 games in the dome this year. Like
I don't like the week 5 bye week for Goff. That scares me.
I mean, he got him late though. I don't mind it. Yeah, 100%, Mark. the
I just mean he's going to have to draft another QB because he's going to need one right away.
Yeah, and I mean, there's going to be quarterbacks that come available. Some of these like higher end quarterbacks.
Mark, you don't have to tell me I'm the kicker DST guy. That's why there's kickers and DST in this. That's my thing. Anything where you add extra, I love these. If you guys would have let me add IDP to this Guillotine League, I would have done it. Anything where you can add extra positions and make it more about strategy and less anything where you can minimize the amount of random bullshit luck and variance, I'm all for. And I think, adding more positions helps that. I get it. Kicker appears to be random, but kicker is not as random as you think. DST's mostly fucking just a coin flip, but kicker's not. I think the kicker is very matchup dependent. That's why I went Aubrey.
I gotta take him here. Oh, Josh Downs. Love what's going on here.
Did you get autoed or is that who you wanted?
I took him there. I was looking and I was like, man, I don't like any of these wide receivers. Screw it. Give me the guy that's the wide receiver 2 there. It's not a good pick.
You're gonna need to replace half your team for week 14. Luckily, it's
fine. If I'm running Josh Downs out after week 7, like something has gone wrong. Like, let's be real.
Yeah. To be fair, you're probably eliminated by then if you're starting him in week 14.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's a very, very valid point.
I was like, oh no. Well, I was gonna take a running back, and then I was like, nah, I don't really want to take that running back. And I was just looking, and I was like, dude, these are rough picks.
But see, so the first 5 or 6 rounds is basically where you took consistent floor players. Now I'm at the point where it's just like, fuck it, hope I can get a guy here. Like the rookies are great targets. Hope you can get a guy who runs into a game. That's like from now on, it's all upside. Which is why I wish I waited and I could have just grabbed Tua in the 7th round and taken a running back earlier. But I'd much rather have Tua and James Cook than Lamar and Mostert. I guess in the end, it's probably a wash, but
it's fine. Like, I think with like James Cook, I like James Cook a lot. He should be fine early on in the season. I just worry about how much volume he's going to see because he saw a ton of work last year. He was top 10 in touches. I don't know if he's top 10 in getting touches. If he is, like, that's a really good pick there. It's just kind of risky. So, but you could swap him out with another running back in that range if you don't like him. If you like Jacobs or what, you know what I mean? Like any one of those guys would be fine. But yeah, I think like Mark getting those 2 running backs in that range is good value. Like you look at kind of the board, you got Rashad White in the 3rd, followed up with Kittle and Swift on another team. Like you could make these guys all work. So it's just, as long as they have the floor, that's all we're looking for here. I don't care about the upside, but now towards we get to the later part of the draft, yeah, give me a shot on a guy that could be the wide receiver 1 on a team, running back 1 on a team, tight end, any guy you think you could get value on moving forward because this is how it boosts your team. So the floor is not really concerning to me anymore in the 8th round. I'm just like, whatever, dude.
I will recap the 7th. We have Zeke Elliott, Jamison Williams, Brandon Aubrey, Gus Edwards, Cole Kmet, Dalton Schultz, Jared Goff, Nick Chubb, Caleb Williams, Cortland Sutton, Trey Benson, Curtis Samuel, Josh Downs, Xavier Legette, Tua, Chase Brown, Blake Corum, and Chuba Hubbard. I don't mind that pick. I think Chuba could be or have a larger role early on. And then he paired it with Hawkinson, which is an interesting one. He's going to eat him for probably the first month, but we're going to have an IR spot. Yeah. So I would assume the second he gets officially IR'd, he's just going to add someone and then hope he survives long enough to stack what could be 3 really, flex a couple of these. I assume he's going to be having 3 tight ends in his lineup, 1 at tight end and 2 at flex, but I don't mind it if you can get there.
Look at the tight ends available. There's literally nobody that you can trust. Like, it's super risky, guys. So, like, I would honestly be tempted for teams if, like, they had a suspect quarterback to take another, like, one of these good quarterbacks and kind of lock it up to avoid the other teams. But, like, when I'm looking at the skill position players, like, it's guys that all have holes that you can poke in their profile. So it's like, all right, Mike Williams coming off injury. Rashid Shaheed should be the wide receiver 2 in that offense. We don't know. Khalil Shakir, maybe he gets it, but, they also have they also have the other wide receiver there. It's like, it's rough. So I'm going to actually take Charbonnet, who I think is going to give Walker more of a fit this year and lock him up as a flex play and go from there. And I have a couple of guys on multiple bye weeks, 2 week 10s, 2 week 14s. Like, we'll live with that for now. And then there goes Rashid Shaheed, as we were just talking about him. So I think giving the players available, it's kind of just like take shots on the guys you like at this point, because
it's amazing. Since Scott Fishbowl started, I've seen a few drafts where Rashid Shaheed's gone in like the 4th or 5th round. And I've looked at the settings and I've been like, you realize this isn't Scott Fishbowl. Kickers don't mean anything in this league. There's like no points for return touchdowns or anything. It's like, this isn't Scott Fishbowl. Why are you drafting Rashid Shaheed? You see the SFB league where he went 112? That's fun.
That's ballsy.
Ballsy's the word, but it's something. It is something.
Yeah, there's a guy I want to get late.
We are running out of solid players here.
This is just the chaos. Like, you can tell, like, look at the players available. It's just take shots, because
but this is why we shorted it to 13 rounds, because I forgot when I set it to 5 bench spots that this is an 18-team league. We could not have kept this going 15 rounds. There's nobody. There's
guys that don't have a like. I actually like the Palmer pick. I think he could still be the wide receiver 1 in that offense. So yeah, if you want to take a kicker or defense in this range, and you're Aubrey, like, why you took him is because you're trying to get the best players of those positions, right? Like, it totally makes sense, because
I assume we're going to see a kicker run very soon.
And I'm assuming someone's taking defense soon, because, like, defense is incredibly hard to predict. So that's the whole thing with defense, is it's just super risky. So I would look for defenses that have really easy schedules early on. Use that to your advantage, which I haven't even looked at, which I'm going to here in a second. But, like, find defenses that go up against terrible offense the first 4 weeks, stuff like that, right?
This is getting ugly.
Yeah, we're like, ooh, these guys. Ooh. This is the thing with guillotine leagues, right? Like, going in, you're like, man, this is raw.
That's why I said I expect there to be a kicker run, because we're getting to the point where it is ugly. There's not a whole lot of upside anymore. I did like Troy Franklin. He was someone I wanted. Almost took him a couple of rounds ago, but
yeah, no, it makes sense. It's like, I don't mind taking a shot on him there. Like, if that's your guy, go get him. Because at this point, the floor is best out the window. So as much as we talked about floor earlier, like, this is where the upside comes in, because you need these guys to take a step forward. Unless you're taking a quarterback like Herbert or Stafford, who are really good picks in this range. So yeah, that's the one we got to have, is taking the quarterback so early. Even though it is a true difference maker, just seeing who's available this late, like, that's the whole thing. So we both kind of thought they were going to go earlier than they did. But, you love and learn.
It's amazing that there's still some half-decent quarterbacks left. I really wish I had just punted quarterback.
I mean, I'm tempted to, like, almost just roster another one to keep him from other teams, but, like,
just to be a dick at this point.
Yeah, because, like, I'm looking at the right
floor. I didn't like any players, and I knew a couple of the teams after me needed a kicker, so I'm like, there's one good kicker left on the board. I'm just going to take him because screw you.
Yeah, in, like, traditional redraft leagues, I think it's a batshit crazy idea. In this league, like, I definitely understand the rationale behind it. It makes more sense, because it's like, we want the high floor play. Like, Aubrey is going to be, like, a good kicker and one of the best offenses in the NFL. Like, it's that simple. If that's the bet you're making, or same thing with Tucker or any one of these guys. So, yeah. I think the defensive bets are a lot harder to make, though, because there's such variance year with defense. It's incredibly hard to predict, man. Like, you see these teams that really take a step forward, they fall back. So this is the whole thing with defense where I'm like, whew, it's rough.
It is ugly here.
For sure.
Yeah, let's go with. I was going to go with the Cowboys here. I'm going to go with the Niners because I don't want both my special teams players having the same bye week. I don't want Aubrey and the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys are DST1, but I actually forgot we had to draft defense because nobody's taken one. So
me too. I was looking at her. I was like, why are defenses available? Oh, yeah, we're drafting defense.
Yeah,
that came up in the chat before the draft. I was like, oh, we're drafting defenses? I was like, oh, no.
Yeah, I wanted to split them up. Like I said, I prefer the Cowboys, but I don't want both of them having the same bye week. So,
yeah, no, I get you.
We have every team has a quarterback now, I think.
I think so. Let's take a look.
It looks like it. Was there one missing? And no team has 2 quarterbacks? Yeah, everyone has 1 and nobody has 2.
Yep.
And it just goes to show you the last team to draft a quarterback was Jason, who took Stafford, who I still have some faith in. So maybe, like I said earlier, maybe he had an idea of what he was doing, and maybe I was right to give him a little leeway. Although he's got a lot of guys week 14, but I guess if you're going to triple stack week 14 buys, week 14 is the way to do it. Well, that's got to be the last week of buys, right? Week 14?
I think it is. He's also punted tight end. Like, he hasn't taken a tight end. I'm sure he's going to take shots on both. I'm betting he's going to take another quarterback and just shots on tight end late because it's like, you got to take shots on tight end.
Hopefully I don't mind Luke Musgrave here.
No, he should be fine. Or like, you talk yourself into K-Dot and the guy that runs a really route. I think Hunter Henry is actually the best floor play of all of those guys. But you could go any one of those guys.
Round 8 was TJ Hawkinson, Jerry Jeudy, Trevor Lawrence, Tyler Lockett, Jacoby Myers, Zach Charbonnet, Rashid Shaheed, Khalil Shakir, Kendre Miller, Josh Palmer, Justin Tucker, Troy Franklin, Marshawn Lloyd, Brandon Cooks, Justin Herbert, the 49ers DST, Matt Stafford, and Malachi Corley. So we are definitely getting into it here. I'm really glad we shortened this to 13 rounds because I don't know who we would have been drafting aside from just drafting defenses and kickers in the last 2 rounds, but I don't know.
That's just how it always goes, right?
This is ugly. This is ugly.
Not
look, the top 8 players on the board are quarterbacks.
Yeah, you're like, oh, yay, fun. Yeah, so if you knew quarterbacks were going to fall like they did, which Jason made that bet, and it was actually a pretty savvy bet, you can survive because you're giving yourself higher floor plays with those skill position players.
I hope he wasn't targeting Musgrave there because Musgrave got autoed by the 1.
That's tough break. I mean, you're really not going to be. Yeah, and he takes the Cowboys.
Dallas DST. I like that. Like I said, that's who I wanted, but then we're in a spot here where I'm getting down the board and I don't like any of these players. Oh, yeah, gross, more gross, even more gross. I am going to go with the guy I've been taking a shot on. Where is he? Give me, what the hell? Where'd he go?
Who are you looking for?
Roman Wilson, right there.
I was going to say, yeah, he should be available.
He is available. Roman Wilson. It is getting ugly. This is what 18-team leagues look like. This is hell. Good luck. 18-team leagues where you got to start. Keep in mind, these players are still starters. It's start 10.
Yes. Yeah, that's the problem.
So here's what we're getting into lineup looks like right there. I still have
I've got all my
flex. Yeah.
I've got all my flex spots filled, but I don't have a defense or a kicker, so that's the whole thing.
I have a defense and a kicker, but I got 1 empty flex spot. So every player you see on the board will be in someone's starting lineup, which is why it's not about winning the week. It's about not losing the week.
100%.
Just ugly. This is ugly. Yep. I wonder who he wanted. The 101 just messaged me. He's a friend from work, and he said, I couldn't decide, and while I was waiting to decide, I timed out.
I'm like, what?
Trying to see who he was debating. I love that. Trying to debate the 2 players, and then you time out, and you're like, well, shit. Now I didn't get either of them. And he didn't really need a tight end.
Yeah,
he hasn't said who he was looking for yet. Although I guess he wouldn't want to tell me because he might want him next round. Yeah. But I mean, with 36 picks before it gets back to you, I can't see that happening.
Yeah. I don't think it will happen, yeah.
This is certainly one of the more unique leagues I've ever had to to draft. Not sure there's really a solid strategy. Oh, Vidal was still on the board. Damn.
Yep. Yes, he
I
was.
forgot Vidal was still on the board. That's a solid pick. I'm not gonna lie. I wish I had done that.
It's a good upside bet. Like we've been talking about it nonstop this whole offseason. Like
I said,
there's definitely a path outside for him.
Who were you debating? Not a second tight end was his response. Fair enough. Not a second tight end. Fuck.
You're like touche.
I guess the good news is I think Musgrave may be a better flex than I'd probably rather flex Musgrave than Roman Wilson.
There's a couple guys I like in this range, but there's a lot of risk with them. Like I can't front. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, well,
if you get auto picked doing it or auto picking a player who doesn't have the same bye week as anyone on your team, that's not a terrible break. I don't hate it.
No, it works. Ugh, of course, the two guys I like are both bye week guys that I already have, but oh well, such is life.
We have another DST. It's amazing we have a DST run before the kicker run.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised with that. I would much rather take the kickers. Like I would, like, you know, the safety with the kickers, like a good kicker on a good offense, you know that's gonna. These defenses, man, like from year to year, there's such variance. Like we saw last year, the Commanders blew it up and their defense was terrible. So it's just like, you know how it goes. I would much rather take a kicker in this range, and particularly like there's a couple of kickers I still like, so I'll probably grab one here. If not here, I'll do it on the comeback.
Getting intro. There's another kicker going.
Yep.
It's certainly not the usual.
No, it's interesting. Well, the nice thing about kickers, it's like it's got a good top tier of guys, and then there's the Seahawks because they play the Broncos week 1. 100%. I'm actually going to take a guy who I like here. Take the wide receiver I like. And if it backfires, it backfires.
Head over to our Twitter if you're interested in any of these other leagues. We're filling all sorts of unique. They're mostly redraft. Like I've got a vampire one, a pirate one. There's a couple of others. They're all posted on our Twitter. I think we've got a few spots in some of them. They're all drafting live like this. It's just unique formats. And then there's the two over on League Tycoon, and I was never really a fan of not playing on Sleeper, but I played in two of them last year through DLF, and they were both hosted on League Tycoon, and they were that Graveyard League and the Gambit League, and honestly, they were really fun. So I started my own this year. The Gambit one is really fun. I think I told you about that one. I was the last. I drafted 112 in the coach part, so I got the last card on the board, and it was tight end premium. So I started with Kelsey and Andrews because why the hell not? So I found that very fun, because then everybody's drafting something different because the players that are most important to me don't necessarily mean shit to you. Like I'm loading up on tight end, and other people are punting tight end. So.
Right, exactly.
That was fun.
Yeah, like the bonuses are different for everybody. 100%.
So we're running a couple of those. Those are also on the FFU Twitter if you want to sign up. They're all still open. I think there's a few spots in some of them. Some have more spots than others.
Yeah, I think we're doing what? We're doing every possible league known to man at every time. So like if you're interested in a unique league, like we're living that degenerate term out to the max. So come over to the FFU, see what we got going on. It's every potential league that you could possibly like. So they're there.
We are degenerates. That's for damn sure.
Oh, what gave it away? I mean, we're doing a freaking 18-team Guillotine League, and we're talking about these guys. They'll double-digit rounds. So, yeah, I'd say that qualifies.
And we have the guy on the end double tapping the special teams. He went Moody and the Browns. But to recap the 9th round, 1 sec, actually. I got to remember to do my damn timestamps again because I don't know how to work them properly on StreamYard. 9th round recap. Luke Musgrave, Dallas DST, Roman Wilson, Hunter Henry, Jaleel McLaughlin, Jets DST, Kamani Vidal, Commanders, Harrison Butker, Evan McPherson, Seahawks DST, Adam Thielen, Dontavian Wicks, Ravens DST, Mike Williams, who is starting on the pup. That could be scary. Rico Dowdle, Ty Chandler, and Jake Moody. And then we, like I said, started the 10th round with the Browns DST. So defense going a lot faster here than kicker. I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 DST and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I guess not 6 kicker, 7 DSTs. So I guess we have 2 out of the 3 picks here have been kicker, and that's evened it up a bit. But
yeah,
it's definitely a unique strategy. And I think at this point, everyone's realized there aren't many darts left to throw. So screw it. I'm going to get a top end kicker or defense. But I would say at this point, there's maybe 1 or 2 defenses I want left. Like, let me look here. Sorry, I got to bring my board back up. Like, I don't mind Chiefs, Steelers, Dolphins. I don't mind. I don't really want anyone else. The Bills have too many injuries. Same with the Eagles and too much turnover. As far as kickers go, I like Koo. I like Dicker. I don't mind Sanders and Gay. Other than that, like, so there's 3 or 4 kickers and 3 or 4 DSTs I like left, and that's it.
Yeah, like there are a few kickers I'm looking at here. I'm probably gonna take Koo just because of basically the bye week's a little bit different. I don't want to take Dicker with a week 5 bye week because the kicker's good on that offense. I mean, the problem is who they're playing early. They play Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Kansas City. Like, that's rough early on in their schedule. So, like, that's the whole thing that concerns me. So I could go a different route. Like, I don't mind Sanders, but it's the same issue. Like, it's the bye week. So I think taking Koo here's the best bet. Like, I'm looking at the other guys, it's kind of just like, it's not great. And the scoring on this format's super weird. It's only saying they're going to score 38 points. Our scoring is a little jacked up right now. But yeah, I'll take the guy on the Falcons offense. Like,
I looked at that. It does say they're only scoring 38 for the season. So you know what? I might not have decimal scoring set in here. Let me look. I may have fucked that up, and I can't change it in here, can I? So I'll have to change that after. That's something I got to go in and fix. I screwed that up, but I'm at the point where I've got a defense, I've got a kicker, I've got my quarterback and tight end who both have late buys. At this point, I'm just gonna hope I strike gold here with running back or wide receiver. And I don't know about you, but that's pretty much just what I'm hammering the rest of the way out.
Did you see the comment on Sleeper? They're like, can we increase the bench back to 5 after the draft? It's
no, we cannot.
There's just gonna be like so many guys who hit the waiver wire each week from teams that are eliminated. Like, all right, there goes Tracy. That's an interesting pick. I don't mind the upside shot there. Yeah, because we're getting into like the bottom barrel rosters, right? So you might as well just take guys you like. If you don't take another position. Because
sorry, I'm scrolling through here. Points per field goal made. I don't get it.
Sometimes when
it's got decimal scoring, man.
When it lists the stuff, it's just wrong. Like when you go to like the Scott Fish Bowl, we were drafting a Scott Fish Bowl and Sleeper. Those projections were not even close to right on some of those guys. So for whatever reason, the scoring wasn't showing up right when you're doing drafts. So you have to pay attention to what your actual draft settings say, because if you're going off the projections listed on Sleeper in the draft, they're definitely wrong a lot of the time. So be careful going off of those projections, because the kicker scoring is way different than what it says.
I refreshed the settings, but it doesn't look like anything had to be changed. Like PAT made, decimal scoring. I can't see why kickers are being so devalued in this scoring. I honestly don't get it.
It's an issue with their draft boards. I don't know why. It's like with certain leagues, it shows up the wrong projections and stuff. So it's just very strange. It doesn't make any sense. But
yeah, I don't know what the deal is. For everyone who's watching, I didn't just change the settings. For you guys who are in here and getting the notifications, that's not me changing the settings. I'm just looking around. I don't understand what's going on here.
Oh, you're also going to need to.
Look at the projected points. I don't get that for kickers. 38, 45. Like, I don't understand what the setting is. I looked and it's everything's correct. I don't know.
So you're gonna need to fix the rosters, because it's still showing bench spots as 5. So just a heads up.
Where?
On roster. Like when you go to check your roster in the draft, it shows 5 bench spots. So, or at least it's showing it for me. So maybe mine.
I don't know. I just reloaded mine. It shortened it on the draft board. The draft board shortened to 13.
Yeah, I think that's just the draft spots.
Never mind. It's not showing. It's showing 15 now. I don't get what the hell is going on.
Yeah, just take 2 of the bench spots off. Yeah.
Sleeper is driving me nuts right now. I'm not sure what the hell is going on. So that should fix that. How to screw up a draft while doing one. I don't understand. I'm not sure. Like I said, I don't know what the problem is here with the kicking settings. It'll
fix it. Like,
can't figure it out.
Like when you look at when you go out of the draft, it'll probably give you actual scoring settings. That makes more sense. So I'll check right now. Let's go projections. Free agents.
I do not love what's left on this board. Ugh. At this point, I'm sorting rookies only, and I don't. Ugh. God, this is ugly. Rashina Ali, I guess. I don't know. I don't really want any of these players. This is very ugly. Yeah, I'm outside the draft room too, and I'm looking and it doesn't say anything. Kickers, field goal made. I have it set to points per. So points per field goal yard should be 0.1, correct?
Yeah, so then you would get one for
a point for 10 yards.
Yeah, like that's how it's
supposed to be. 1 point for PAT made.
Let me see.
I don't know what's wrong with it then. It must just be a glitch in their system because the settings look right.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Yeah, because like a lot of the traditional leagues will give you the 3 for the yardage, but if you do it individual yards, it should be fine. So I don't know. We can look into that later. It's fine. It's not super important right now.
All right. Recap the 10th round. We had Cleveland Browns, Tyler Bass, Jake Elliott, A.D. Mitchell, Jason Myers, Younghoe Koo, Jalen Polk, Tyrone Tracy, Jahan Dotson, Steelers DST, Jalen Wright, Kirk Cousins, Kai Fairbairn, Cameron Dicker, Antonio Gibson, Rashina Ali, Taysom Hill, and the Lions DST, and we're back around in the 11th round. Well, I continue to try and figure out what the hell is wrong with our stupid kicker settings. I don't get it.
I'm not sure. Let me actually look at the
It wasn't like this. I looked before the draft and it wasn't showing like this.
And this is what the settings you had it under us?
Yeah, I haven't changed anything.
Let me see. Yeah, so the Scott Fishbowl kicking scorings are the same. The only difference is point PAT made is 3.3. So, but they give it that boost. But yeah, he's got a point per yard, so
we don't need that much of a boost. Yeah,
no, we don't. I just
51 points per Bucker.
Yeah, it's just not calculating it correctly, which is fine. It'll figure it out. We can always message Sleeper about it if we're super worried. Wait, is it this week?
Am I on the clock?
You just auto pick Dobbins.
Oh well, I was on the other board trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I was looking up stuff too.
I almost went Dobbins last board, so fuck it. I don't even care.
I mean, he's fine pick. If he's healthy, he's gonna get work. So he could do worse than not picking Dobbins. So I think he's fine. And like, who are you really missing out on in this range, right? So, just see my guy Gino. The slate's frustrating. I'm like, man, could have Gino. I mean, I might as well take him. We'll see. Maybe just tag him as a bench guy.
Field goals made. Maybe that's it. Maybe I'm just used to Scott. No, but even when we don't give 3.3 for a field goal made, it's normally higher than this.
Yeah, it's not calculating it correctly. It's fine.
Yeah, I don't know. Unless they're only supposed to kick. They're only supposed to kick a couple 100 yards. Yeah, I don't know. That makes no sense. I don't know. This makes no sense to me. This is clearly a glitch in the matrix.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to give up on it, and I'm going to try and figure it out after the draft.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about it.
This one's a real marathon. Hey, what are we at? Hour and 18 minutes right now? And we still got 2 rounds left.
Took my guy Pop Douglas. Boo.
Yeah,
there's a guy that is a really good value pick right there. I mean, I have like a billion week 10, week 14 guys anyway, so I'm not too worried about it, but that's a good pick.
Yeah, someone brings up a point. I think it's Sleeper doesn't have projections in for kickers yet. No base points. They have it projected how many of each field goal they're going to kick, but they don't have any yardage in. So that's why you're seeing no base points. You're just seeing the bonuses. So if you're looking, okay, so Butker's being projected for 51. All you're seeing is he's being projected for 1 for each extra point. So what you're seeing in kickers right now, their value is just what they have for extra points. It's not factoring in their base field goals. So, yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, makes sense.
No, I'm responding to someone in the chat. I just noticed that when he said it. That's the issue. Sleeper hasn't factored in their projections for actual field goals right now. So they have no kick yardage in there and just extra points. So yes, if you're drafting a kicker, ignore the sleeper kicker rankings because they are shit. This one is exhausting. This fucking just is this dude gonna time out again?
Potentially, I think so. I mean, I really don't have an issue with anybody that's timing out this late in the draft because you're kind of just like whatever.
But he times out and then logs right back in, so he's there. So I don't know. I think this is the guy earlier who said he was having a computer issue and he froze or something. So I imagine he probably didn't want Rodgers there, but so now he has 2 QBs with the same bye week. So I'm going to assume that was an auto pick and he didn't want it.
Seems like that was not what he wanted to do.
It is what it is. He must be having some kind of technological issue. The guy with all the wide receivers posting that this is okay fire in the chat. Awesome. His tight end sucks. I don't mind getting Herbert there as his quarterback. His running backs are not what I would want. The tight end I think is the worst thing for him here because Musgrave got sniped right before him. I don't really love Hunter Henry, but I suppose given the fact that he auto drafted 5 receivers to start, it could have been much worse. But
that'll do it to you.
Did you just see that?
What?
That guy who just autoed on mine, it came up at the 11:10 as Gabe Davis, and then it switched to Baker Mayfield.
Sometimes it'll do that if they have somebody queued up. Like it'll just go off of their queue.
That was odd. I was like, what the fuck just happened?
Like I've done that where it's like timed out, but I've clicked it at the last second, so it's done that, but it's still giving me the guy I've wanted. So I think that might have happened.
That's interesting for sure.
Yeah, for sure. All right. I do not like any of these defenses, man. Do I just take the Chiefs? Oh, that's just rough. I really hate those early matchups they have, though. Problem is, these defenses aren't that good.
What are you looking at here?
Defenses? I just don't like any of these defenses.
Chiefs?
Yeah, I just hate the early matchups. It's Baltimore, Cincinnati, and Atlanta. It's like, all right, not going to be easy matchups, but, I mean, their defense is really good still. So.
Chiefs, Dolphins, Texans, Bears, but that's without looking at any of the matchups.
Yeah, I'll take the Texans, sure. Oh, week 14 bye. I am so cooked with these week 14 buys. I did not realize that.
Yeah, like you're still going to be drafting. Like you'll still be starting the Texans in week 14 if you're alive.
Yeah.
My God, we're in the for my Scott Fishbowl. The last guy has been on the clock for like 5.5 hours with 1 pick. He's the final pick in the draft, and I'm just like, this draft is still fucking going.
I have a couple people in my league that are taking a long time with their picks, which is fine. We're getting there, but it's weird. Like ever since we hit about round 15, a few people just started taking their sweet time. So it's like, all right, well, that is what it is.
I think people lose enthusiasm and they kind of punch out a bit, and they're just like, I don't fucking know. It doesn't matter. But the worst is the people who auto pick after 8 hours, then they undo the auto pick. So when it comes back around to them on the turn 2 picks later, they got to go through the 8-hour auto pick again. And it's like, oh, thanks for wasting 16 hours.
Right.
And a sleep timer. So.
Yeah, Mark makes a valuable point here. I think it depends on the quarterbacks you have. If you're fading quarterback, like I want 2 quarterbacks just because like I want 2 guys I like. But yeah, if you're taking an early, like we took early quarterbacks, I don't really want to take another quarterback in this because I can find someone. Even though I was talking about Geno, like I don't mind taking him in the 13th round of this format just because of who it is. But given that I spent early capital on Kelsey and Richardson, if they both fail me, like my team's probably going to falter and I can find someone on the roster. So yeah, I think it comes down to just roster construction with those guys. So, but I'm with you overall. Like I think that makes sense.
Jeez, we're really slowed down here to finish this off, eh?
We're cooking. We are cooking, folks. I mean, we're pushing 2 hours on this, so. Or sorry, hour and a half. I can't do math in my head. I was like 124. I was like, oh wait, no, hour 24 minutes.
Yeah,
I'm an idiot. Don't mind me. Don't mind the guy just blabbering.
You might be right about it. Jesus.
Yeah, like if you want to go auto with these picks, it really doesn't matter, to tell you the truth. Because who's the guy that's gonna give you upside here? Please tell me.
So we concluded round 11. Round 11. Tyler Algier, Jason Sanders, J.K. Dobbins, the Bills, Demario Douglas, Rashad Bateman, Cade Otton, Aaron Rodgers, Audric Estime, Baker Mayfield, Ray Davis, Eagles and Texans DSTs, Jermaine Burton, Ty Conklin, Wan'Dale Robinson, Quentin Johnston, and Ricky Pearsall, bringing us to the I keep saying 14th, but we're not in a 15-round draft anymore. We're in the 12th.
Yes. We are deep enough. 12 times 18, do the math on that, you realize we are deep in the draft pool. Yeah, like if you're taking running backs here, it's just like take guys that are backups. Hopefully they have a somewhat of a job or they can find their way into a bigger job with an injury. So like, the Estimes, the Ray Davis is the Pierce, Tracy's, right? That's all kind of the bets you're making with these guys. So I'm fine doing that. And if you like wide receivers, I actually don't mind a Gabe Davis at this point in the draft. Like, there's upside with him, or a Michael Wilson, who's theoretically the wide receiver chief for the Cardinals. Like, you can talk yourself into that. But the thing about wide receivers, it's seemingly deeper. Like, you got Javon Baker, all these guys you like. Running back, it's like, all right, backups, and then it falls off a cliff because there's just nobody. So I would prefer to go running back here.
There's literally nothing. I scroll through and I'm like, whatever. Oh, Javon Baker's not a bad pick, like you said, but
yeah, like there's a couple wide receivers. Like, I'm just gonna take Bucky Irving and like hope he has more of a role than I expect because he's the backup there. But like, he could be a nothing burger, and it just is what it is.
Yeah, this is not all that much fun at this point in the draft. It's pretty damn ugly. I don't mind. Yeah, at this point, like I said, I was aiming for rookies. I got timed out on the last one and went with J.K. Dobbins, which I guess I don't hate. The Chargers are pretty wide open here, but I don't have any faith that he's healthy. But
and you're not starting him anyway, so it's like, it's just fine. Just you mix and match. Go there.
This draft is going forever.
We're almost done though. We are almost done with this one. This one's a little complicated, but some of the drafts, like I think the more complicated, the more complicated it gets, the longer they kind of go. So like we do some of these unique leagues, some of these drafts we're going to stream, they are going to be long just because it's a little bit harder than it is your traditional like redraft league, right? So
well, but to be fair, this is the only one of the redraft leagues that we have that's 18 teams. The rest are 12 teams, so they'll be 12. I think they're all 12 teams in 15 rounds, so they should all be about an hour, give or take. Yeah. This is by far the longest. We have the longest. We're only 13 rounds, but it's with 18 teams. So what are we? Where does it say for me? Where we pick? It says somewhere on here. Where's my line? Oh, I can't even read it. Pick. It doesn't say. It just says pick number. Fucking sleeper.
Too damn long. You want to look at these rosters and like talk about them?
Go for it. I don't even know where to begin.
So let's just start. Where are we at on camera? Because I'll look at your camera. Do you just want to start with the first guy? Just do that and just go from the list. Let me move over. Yeah, so it's like.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Is that Todd?
No,
THI?
THI, yeah, it's my buddy at work.
That's Todd. Okay, so obviously he's valuing wide receiver early with Kupp, Allen, Ridley. He gets McCaffrey, the best player in fantasy. Takes the Hurts, the onesie position, and then from that point on, I'm a little bit more surprised he didn't attack running back heavier, just based on. After he got Freiermuth, he got most of his positions down. So I'm kind of surprised he kind of faded running back for the most part because he only has 3 running backs right now. And his running back 2 is Ezekiel Elliott. So it's an interesting strategy. But overall, you're expecting that top half to carry you. So I like it. I just wish maybe he would have added like a McLaughlin or a Charbonnet or one of those guys instead of Corley, because you're flexing Corley as opposed to like, Elliott. But if you like Corley, I get it. How would you compare his to say like Jason's draft? Where do you sit on Jason's draft?
I like Jason's build in the end because he got a decent quarterback late, and then he's front loaded the other way, at the top here.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like Todd's build, but I'm not sure. Like after Corley, I don't really love the picks after that. I like the first few, although in the 4th and 5th round, those are not 2. Allen and Ridley are not 2 of the receivers I'm targeting. Freiermuth probably, I don't know, he's a decent tight end, but I love, and I don't even know my first receiver there. I don't know if I love Cup as my wide receiver 1. I feel like this build might be able to just skate by and survive a few weeks, but I don't know if it's necessarily like he's going to have to add some players here to survive. He also has a lot of single-digit buys here. None of them are really stacked that together, but like he's got a couple in week 5, a couple in 7, a couple in 9. It's gonna be interesting. I don't know. It's so tough to judge here because some of these rosters, like I said, you don't realize it's like, oh, the guy in the 9th round sucks. Oh, well, he's got to start that guy. Like I have one so far. What I have is one player on my bench. Everybody else that I've drafted is in my lineup. So
yeah, I've been more attacking like the positions and then like fading kicker and defense. Like I finally grabbed them, but yeah, like I'm looking at Jason's roster compared to his, and it's like Austin Eckler's the RB2, so that's kind of the spot where you have the biggest variance of he could just be dust this year and be nothing, or he could be a valuable pass catching back. And then you got the flex plays. It's like DK Metcalf, Xavier Worthy. Like you're pretty solid there. I think the Taysom Hill pick, like that one's just going to drive you crazy because you don't know when it's going to hit. So
because he's got best ball.
It's not best ball. So it's like he needs those guys to carry him. So as long as those guys do their pick early, those wide receivers early on, then yeah, he should be fine. I think Stevenson's a fine floor play. Like you know what you're getting, and then like comparing it to like your build, I think it's a little bit different because you valued the quarterback and the tight end early, and then you were able to supplement with Deontay. I think for you, those 2 running backs, most certain forward back to back, kind of makes or breaks your draft because you got Aubrey, you got the 49ers defense, like you're pretty set everywhere elsewhere. So if those guys hit at running back, like I think you'll be fine. Interesting enough, I was gonna ask who your last pick's gonna be, and is our Lord and Savior.
I'm stacking upside rookies who I think might hit, but to recap the 12th round, we had Madison, Damian Pierce, Deonta Foreman, Matt Gay, Javon Baker, Bucky Irving, Blake Grupe, Chase McLaughlin, Gabe Davis, Deshaun Watson, Marvin Mims, Dustin Hopkins, Khalil Herbert, Chiefs DST, Roshan Johnson, who was going to be my pick, Theo Johnson, Mike Gesicki, and Greg Zerline. Then we start the 13th round with the handcuff. Oh, I like that. He handcuffed CMC with his first pick and Elijah Mitchell with his last one. Then we had Jatavian Sanders, who I probably would have taken over Ben Sinnott. I like the situation a little better. And then Barker takes his kicker and Cairo Santos. Michael Wilson goes next, and we're about halfway through the final round here. We have the Saints DST goes.
Yeah, it's fine. I guess this is what it is. I think Barker with all of his wide receivers, like that's going to be interesting how that draft plays out with those guys. Like he still managed to get Herbert and Henry, which is actually fine with.
Keep in mind,
it's not bad.
He can make trades. We have trades enabled. He can trade someone. The problem is Adunze and Rice might not have much early trade value is the problem.
Well, like, the whole Rashi Rice pick is like, it's super variance because you don't know when the suspension is going to happen. If it happens, like he could be out 8 weeks and then you're like, fuck. Or he's playing in week 2 and you're surviving. It's just, the Odunze pick, I actually don't mind Odunze because he's such a good player.
But I mean, as far as trade values, rookies, especially wide receivers, their value tends to go up in their rookie year. It's not normally peaked in week 1. So he's going to need to trade one week 1, and he probably isn't going to get full value for Odunze in week 1.
Well, yeah, because like your RB2 is Gus Edwards or, Antonio Gibson and those guys. And if you're comfortable starting Gus Edwards, do you think he's going to get 300 carries like Justin Henry's talked about? Then, like that's a fine pick. Like you'll survive. So it's really about how you want to go with this team if you want to risk it moving forward or if you want to get other guys, I think.
And Greg has now drafted a third quarterback, finally one that is not the same bye week as the others, so that's interesting.
Wasn't it great? So we see it was Marco.
Saints, Chargers DST, Will Levis, Braylon Allen, Dolphins DST, Isaiah Likely, Chigo Okonkwo. You're up on the board for your final pick. You don't really need
This is a fun pick. We're going to take Tank Bigsby here and hope there's life after year 2, which was, I know it's rough, but like I'm taking the backup running back in Jacksonville. Hopefully there's something there because I'm not doing the CH experiment again. And then like I'll talk about Brokow's roster here. He's got Bijan, Ayuk, Pacheco, Jordan Love. So it's a solid 4 to start, right? The bye weeks, nothing's really early. He's got a couple like later on that matchup. I think the only really double bye week is week 12 with Kevin Coleman and Bijan Robinson, and Coleman's a floor play. So it is what it is. Komet, overall, it's fine roster. Like, you got Dicker as your kicker. You got the Chiefs defense late. You got Pop Douglas, who's another outside shot. I like Michael Wilson late, too. So, overall, like, it's a pretty solid build. You can see this. You can very easily see this roster just surviving and advancing a few ways. So, that's kind of the goal of this draft. So, I think he nailed what he was going for. So, bravo to him on this draft.
Bigsby, Jalen McMillan, Colts DST, which I think is a decent value. Raiders DST to end it for Jeremy. Bucks DST, and we have Hitman on the clock. Doesn't look like he needs anything particularly. What?
I said close it out, Hitman. What you got for us?
Doesn't look like he needs anything. I don't know what the hell he's going to do. He looks like
who's available?
He could probably go anywhere. I'm not sure. Is there anybody even left on the board? I don't know who I would want.
It's really appealing. I mean, it's quarterbacks, but he's got Josh Allen. So
he went Devontae Walker, rookie for Baltimore. So we've been a year, and I'm getting kind of hungry. So I guess let's do a brief look at this and tell me what you think before we close it out. I don't want to go through all the teams. We're already at an hour and 35 minutes. So we're going crazy long. We don't need to drag this on any longer. Thank you, everyone who joined us, though, and the guys who participated. Like I said, we've got a whole bunch more of these. Most of them are on Sleeper. 2 of them are on League Tycoon. They're all unique formats. They're all fun, different levels of strategy. What do you take away from this one? What do you think of your build?
The quarterback value, like, I'm okay with my overall build, but yeah, the quarterback value fall further than I thought it was going to. So to your point, like, we both reached our quarterback tight end. If you think it's going to be there, you can go that route the other teams did, and it seems a little bit safer. So that's kind of the strategy. And I think, like, if I would redo it, I'd punt quarterback a little bit more. It's like that's the one mistake I made. But it is what it is. Live and learn. I'm fine with the guys I got.
I don't regret going tight end early because tight end went pretty quickly, but it wasn't nearly like there was, like I said, maybe 8 tight ends I wanted, whereas quarterback there was probably 18 I would have been comfortable with. So yeah, if I had that to do all over again, my second round pick would be a running back, and I would end up with a quarterback more like Jaden Daniels, Justin Herbert, somewhere in the 6, 7, 8 range, and I would have liked my team a lot better. Instead, I went with Jackson, and I kind of punted running back. So I got to hope for some of these guys who could very well be backups. But that will bring to an end our FFU Guillotine League. Thank you all for tuning in. Check back tomorrow. I think we're doing a whole bunch of Scott Fishbowl 14 roster reviews all week long. Going to mix in. We've got a couple of those vampire, pirate, assorted different strategy leagues. If any of those fill, we might run a show Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday night to do that draft. If not, like I said, we're live at noon every day doing some roster reviews. Thank you all for tuning in. Take care. We'll catch you next time.